What's going on, Raider Nation? Let's talk straight. The Las Vegas Raiders are in a very interesting spot right now, and there's one area that could either make or break the season: the slot cornerback position. Look, we all know the headlines are buzzing. People are talking about the defense, the coaching shift, even whispers about contract talks around big names like Kolton Miller. But forget the noise for a second. If the Raiders are serious about making a run, this one spot in the secondary might be the X factor. You might think the outside corners matter most, but here's the truth. If you don't have a lockdown guy in the slot, you're exposed. That's where the modern NFL lives. Quick routes, fast slot receivers, and quarterbacks looking to exploit that gap. Without a smart, sharp, aggressive player at that spot, you're getting picked apart all game long. And right now, the Raiders aren't locked in at that position. That should make every Raiders fan a little nervous. Before we dive into the latest buzz from the locker room, do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget the bell icon so you never miss a single update from Raider Nation. Let's keep this silver and black community strong. Now, back to the breakdown. Head coach Pete Carroll is here for one reason: to win now. He's not interested in slow builds or 5-year plans. He's got a short window, and he's going all in. So the Raiders have no room for uncertainty, especially not in the secondary. Sure, we've got some depth, but is it championship caliber? Is it the kind of depth that can shut down Mahomes, Herbert, or Allen in a wild card shootout? If the Raiders want to break the curse, make a statement, and bring the fear back to the AFC West, it starts here, with smart decisions in the secondary and a serious look at who's locking down the slot. Nobody truly knows yet how good this Raiders secondary can be. And that's the scary part. On paper, there's potential. But potential doesn't win games. Execution does. Right now, the blueprint is clear. Pete Carroll's defensive philosophy is setting the tone in Las Vegas. And if you've been watching closely, you'll see it. That signature cover 3 scheme is starting to shape the entire identity of this defense. The Raiders are stacking up long, athletic defensive backs. Third-round pick Dekamarion DJ Porter is drawing eyes in camp. Coaches expect him to step up, and fast. He's expected to be one of the starting outside corners this season. Opposite him, Eric Stokes, another tall, rangy defender. He brings the length and physicality this new system craves. And behind them, the Raiders have Jeremy Chin, a 6'3" safety who adds size and speed over the top. Another perfect fit for the new scheme. So, what's the issue? The slot cornerback position remains a mystery. And in today's NFL, that's not a small problem. Against elite quarterbacks and fast slot receivers, that middle of the field becomes a war zone. If you don't have someone dependable there, your defense crumbles from the inside out. Right now, all signs point to the Raiders leaning toward a nickel package where a corner, not a safety, takes over the slot. But who will that be? And more importantly, can he hold the line when it matters most? The outside is locked down. The back end looks strong, but the slot? That's the question. And the season might depend on how the Raiders answer it. So here's where things get real. If the Raiders are committing to a nickel defense, the man expected to start in the slot is Darnay Holmes. And that raises some serious questions. Holmes is entering what will likely be his 5th or 6th NFL season. Drafted in the 4th round by the New York Giants, he carved out a respectable role there. Not flashy, not dominant, but dependable. Over his time in New York, he notched 4 interceptions and 21 pass breakups. Decent numbers that speak to experience, not excellence. What stands out? The Raiders snatched him up just one day after the Giants let him go. That wasn't an accident, it was deliberate. Vegas saw something they liked. Maybe it was his toughness, maybe his awareness in zone. Whatever it was, they acted fast. Now, Holmes is penciled in as the starting slot corner for Las Vegas, a crucial position in a Pete Carroll-style defense that demands tight, aggressive coverage in the middle of the field. But here's the dilemma: he's no Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs brought swagger, instincts, and physicality. When healthy, he was a menace in the slot. Injuries may have derailed his momentum, but Hobbs always looked like he belonged. With Holmes, that same level of confidence isn't there yet. He's a seasoned pro, no doubt. But is he the kind of player who can help this defense hold the line when the lights are brightest? Can he keep up with quick slot receivers in the AFC West week after week? That's the unknown Raider Nation has to wrestle with, and it could be one of the biggest storylines heading into the season. Here's the thing. Darnay Holmes hasn't truly proven himself in silver and black. His history with the Giants is fine, but they let him go for a reason. And the Raiders, they might have grabbed him quickly, but that doesn't mean he's the long-term answer. The real question is simple. Do the Raiders need to upgrade at slot cornerback? The answer feels more like yes with each practice. Interestingly, the Raiders haven't locked themselves into using a traditional slot corner 100% of the time. During OTAs and mandatory minicamp, they experimented heavily with 3 safety looks, putting either Jeremy Chin or Isaiah Polamo down into the slot in a big nickel package. That's great for run defense, no question. Bigger bodies, more physicality. But let's be honest, this division isn't built on the run. The Raiders are staring down a schedule full of elite passers, Mahomes, Herbert, and maybe even Bo Nix if he catches fire. Against those guys, the margin for error in coverage is razor thin. Here's where things get even more interesting. Jakoran Bennett. Right now, he's working strictly on the outside with the second-team defense. But he's coming off a shoulder injury, and there's a chance that once training camp kicks off, the coaching staff gives him a shot at the slot role. Physically, he's similar in size to Holmes, but Bennett's speed and instincts might give him the edge. Still, this is not just about individual players. It's about coverage consistency across the entire secondary. Because even if your safeties are sharp and your corners are athletic, it all crumbles if the communication and coaching aren't elite. In a Pete Carroll-style system, success in coverage isn't about one-on-one matchups alone. It's about every DB knowing their job, especially when offenses start throwing in crossers, pick routes, and complex concepts like the scissors route. If one guy loses his assignment, the whole thing breaks down. So the pressure's on, not just to find a slot corner, but to find the right one. One who can cover, adjust, and communicate in a scheme that demands discipline. Here's the truth. Raider Nation. You don't need superstars at every spot to have a championship defense, but there are some positions, like slot corner, where talent alone doesn't cut it. It's about trust, reaction speed, and knowing exactly where to be when the play breaks down. Right now, this Raiders secondary still has more questions than answers. Sure, we've added size and versatility with players like Jeremy Chin, but if the idea is to gamble on in-house development alone, that comes with real risk. Because once the season begins, it's too late to second guess. You can't trade for a shutdown slot corner in Week 7. You can't go shopping for elite safeties in November. This is the time to act. Last season taught us that. The Raiders gambled on depth, and when injuries hit the defensive line, with Malcolm Kuntz, Christian Wilkins, and even Max Crosby all facing issues, the performance dropped. The same mistake can't happen in the secondary. Even on offense, the Raiders thought Zamir White could carry the ground game, but once it was clear he couldn't spark the run game consistently, it was already too late. The window to upgrade had closed. Now, take that lesson and apply it to this year's secondary. If the coaching staff, from Patrick Graham to Pete Carroll, truly believes this group can execute at a high level in the new scheme, then fine, let it ride. But if there's even a flicker of doubt, if there's a sense that the slot is soft or the safeties aren't quite ready, now is the moment to move. Because in a division stacked with MVP-level quarterbacks, soft coverage won't just hurt. It'll end the season. Still, there's a sense, a real one, that this year's Raiders are different, more focused, better built, hungrier. This just might be the most complete team we've seen in years, but only if the secondary holds up its end of the deal. Now here's a headline that caught fire behind the scenes. Tom Brady didn't want Sam Darnold in a Raiders jersey. Multiple sources have now backed it. Brady, who's part of the Raiders ownership group, reportedly pushed back hard against the idea of bringing in Darnold. On the flip side, he actually supported the move for Geno Smith. Think about that. 2 quarterbacks, similar money. But Brady, a man who built his legacy on reading defenses and making smart decisions, wanted nothing to do with Darnold. Why does this matter for the Raiders? Because it tells us something about how serious this team is about avoiding the same mistakes of the past. Darnold might be younger, But Geno Smith has produced when it counts. He's experienced, resilient, and knows what it's like to carry the pressure of expectation, something Darnold has never handled consistently. Some fans weren't thrilled when Geno came to Vegas. But consider this. Pete Carroll knows him. He trusts him. And now, Brady, the ultimate winner, co-signs the move. The whispers say Geno's connection with the Raiders might have started during the Senior Bowl scouting period, possibly even mid-flight conversations with Seattle execs. Not confirmed, but the timing of everything lines up. A few quiet chats, and then a deal falls into place days later. And while rumors will always swirl in the NFL, one thing is certain. If Tom Brady believes a quarterback can't help the Raiders, that should make you pause. Darnold is still young, but youth doesn't win titles. Experience and decision-making do. And that's exactly why Geno's presence in the locker room matters. Whether fans are sold or not, this move shows something deeper. The Raiders are done gambling with quarterbacks who might figure it out someday. Now, it's about players who can win right now. When it comes to building a winning team, Tom Brady's opinion carries weight, even if he's not calling the shots. He's not the Raiders' GM, he's not scouting quarterbacks full-time. But, make no mistake, Brady's voice is being heard behind closed doors. While he reportedly opposed the Raiders signing Sam Darnold, he gave the green light for Geno Smith. That contrast alone says a lot about what Brady values in a quarterback: consistency, leadership, and proven resilience, not just a flash of production. Interestingly, when asked about Sheed or Sanders, Brady chose not to dive in. He made it clear he's not evaluating college quarterbacks for the Raiders. But that silence speaks volumes too. Sometimes no endorsement is all you need to know. What's even more fascinating is Brady's reported admiration for rookie quarterback Cam Miller. Long before the draft, Brady was apparently high on the kid. Not after he was picked, but well before the Raiders made any decisions. And that's where things get interesting. While he's not officially running personnel decisions, Brady's fingerprints are all over this QB room. He didn't push for Darnold. He did speak favorably of Geno, and he quietly supported the idea of Cam Miller even before most fans knew his name. This isn't just influence, it's strategic guidance. Whether you agree with the choices or not, it's clear the Raiders are leaning on a mindset built by the greatest winner in NFL history. And that's something no team in the AFC West can take lightly. When Jackson Powers Johnson sat in for Max Crosby on his podcast, he wasn't just tossing out praise. He may have dropped a quiet warning about the Raiders' offensive line, and one name in particular stood out: Kolton Miller. Now, sure, Powers Johnson is a teammate. He's going to speak positively about the group, but listen closely to his words and you can sense the deeper message. Yes, the Raiders' O-line has come a long way from where it was 2 years ago. Key pieces like DJ Glaze, Caleb Rogers, and Charles Grant are being groomed for the future. And if they hit their stride, this could be one of the most balanced and deep lines in the league within 2 seasons. But amidst all that optimism, the spotlight turned to Kolton Miller, and not in the way you'd expect. Powers Johnson described Miller as a steady rock, but then added something telling: he needs an all-pro year. That's not just locker room encouragement, that's a challenge. In a league where contracts are earned, not gifted, those words felt like a public line in the sand. Some fans are already interpreting it as a hint. Miller won't be handed an extension, not yet. Not unless he proves, this season, that he's still elite. And it makes sense. With the Raiders investing in young, versatile linemen, and with a front office determined to build a sustainable contender, there's no room for comfort. Every player is being evaluated, even veterans like Kolton. So while Powers Johnson might have just been talking up the line, what he really did was light a fire under it. Because for the Raiders to take the next step, their protection has to be dominant, not just decent. And Kolton Miller might be the key to making that leap. When Jackson Powers Johnson said Kolton Miller needs an all-pro year, he didn't just compliment a teammate. He may have revealed the stakes. This isn't about hype, it's about urgency. According to Powers Johnson, Miller needs it for his career. That line alone has sparked speculation throughout Raider Nation. Is this the front office's way of signaling that no extension is coming unless Miller dominates this season? Right now, Miller is around 30, the prime years for a left tackle. He's steady, respected, and a clear locker room presence. But that's not always enough in today's NFL. The Raiders are building something tight, competitive, and flexible. Every contract has to make sense, not just emotionally, but strategically. That's where this year becomes critical for Kolton. A strong season, even if it's short of All-Pro, could still earn him a multi-year extension. But anything less, and the team might look to the future. The blueprint is clear. You perform, you stay. You slip, you're replaced. Powers Johnson also praised Kolton's personality. A mesh guy, someone who bonds well with younger linemen and keeps the room light. But in the trenches, it's production that pays. And if you're looking for examples of how linemen can peak later in their careers, look no further than Lane Johnson. Undersized coming out of college, doubted early on. Yet at 34, he's playing the best football of his life. That could easily be Miller's trajectory if he seizes this moment. Bottom line, the clock's ticking. This is more than just another season for Kolton Miller. It could be the one that defines his future in Las Vegas. This might be the biggest test of Kolton Miller's career. Despite being a dependable veteran, there's a real chance the Raiders are drawing a hard line. The message seems simple. You want an extension? Earn it. It's not just speculation either. The situation started making noise when Miller's agent leaked a message to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. The statement, Kolton won't report to camp, not without a new contract. And yes, Miller eventually showed up. He didn't want to create a public distraction. He went through the motions. But make no mistake, that leak wasn't accidental. It was a strategic move to put pressure on the front office and test how far they'd bend. They didn't. Now, the Raiders' stance appears firm. It's possible that GM John Spytek made things clear behind closed doors. We're not paying you this year. If you want out, we'll explore a trade. Otherwise, prove you deserve it. And then came Jackson Powers Johnson's podcast comments. Another signal, saying Miller needs an all-pro year feels like more than praise. It's a measuring stick. So, here's where things stand. The Raiders are holding the line. Miller is on notice. The fans are watching closely. This isn't just about respect. It's about performance, timing, and leverage. Miller's around 30. He still has prime years left. But unless he delivers a dominant season, the Raiders may look to go younger, cheaper, and more flexible up front. The door's not closed, but the clock is ticking. If the Raiders are waiting for Kolton Miller to prove himself before they offer an extension, they might be setting themselves up for regret. In the NFL, paying a player after they break out often costs a franchise far more than locking them in early. Just look at Malcolm Kuntz. The team could have extended him during his 9-game surge, but they waited. Now, if Kuntz explodes this year, he's likely gone. And the price tag? North of $20 million. The same logic applies to Kolton Miller. He may not carry All-Pro honors, but that doesn't mean he isn't elite. Only 2 tackles make the All-Pro list every year. And it's often the same names. Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, Tyron Smith. So, being the 6th or 9th best tackle in the league, that still puts you in rare company. Miller has been reliable, consistent, and productive. And if he delivers a dominant season, his price will soar, possibly beyond what the Raiders are willing or able to pay. The smart move? Lock him in now, or at the very least, early in the season. If the team can secure him in the $20 to $22 million range, that's a bargain for a top-tier tackle in today's market. Wait too long, and you're looking at $28 to $30 million, or worse, losing him in free agency. As for durability, aside from a lingering shoulder issue, which he finally corrected with off-season surgery, Miller has been tough, steady, and always available. This isn't just about protecting the quarterback. It's about securing a cornerstone of the offensive line before the price goes up, or the opportunity disappears. The Raiders can't afford another Kuntz situation. If Kolton Miller's the guy, prove it by paying him.